So the first drink we're going to make is a daiquiri, and as any good bartender knows, the daiquiri is the basis of all cocktails. This is because you've got your strength, you've got your sweet, and you've got your sour, so the three S's. In the drink, your strength is going to be your plantation 3-star, which I spoke about in the previous video, so it's a rum. This is a really, really good quality, kind of a good base rum for mixing in other drinks, and you'll experience a much better daiquiri than other rums you could try it with. Your sweet is going to be your sugar syrup. So again, we spoke about this before, it's 50% normal home granulated sugar, warm water, swirl it together, and then you've got your sugar syrup. And then your sour is not going to be lime juice from a bottle. It's okay, if you've got no other option, it's fine, but always as a preference, you want to be going with fresh fruit. That's pretty much across the board really. Any kind of purees are always, again, okay if you've got nothing else, but you really want to be going with the fruit in its most pure form. Rule of thumb, 1 lime is equivalent to about a 25ml shot of lime juice when you cut it up and squeeze it, which is usually what you're going to want in your drink. So it's kind of 1 lime per drink. So all you're going to need is your Boston shaker, in terms of equipment, obviously your measure, Hawthorne strainer, a decent glass like this. I mean, you can have a daiquiri in any glass you want, but really it should be in like a kind of triangular coupe glass. This is literally from Morrison's. So again, kind of breaking down those barriers of fancy bars. You can get some equipment in the supermarkets, and definitely this glassware is just absolutely fine as it is. So what we're going to do, first of all, is take our rum. Very, very simple drink to make this. Obviously you'll have seen loads of variations of it, so we're talking strawberry daiquiris, frozen daiquiris, loads of different forms. We're going to start with the simple one, because a lime daiquiri is where it all began, essentially. Most bars will say that you can judge the bar based on tasting the daiquiri because it reveals the ratios, which is what we're going to get into next. So when you're making your drink, it's a double shot. So it's, if you've got a normal measure, it's the larger side, one larger side, so 50ml of your plantation. All that in there. Then you're going to need 20ml of sugar syrup. So 20ml. On here, you're going to be just looking for around about 1/2 centimetre from the top, maybe a little bit less from the top. So not quite a full shot. Easier to pour with a speed pour. I'm not sure I've got one with me at the moment. So I'm just going to pour normal from the bottle. If I speed pour it, it's like a little tube that comes out and makes it easier to pour your things. But as I said before, this is just a normal glass bottle. I think there's some kind of squash before. Literally take off the labels and then your sugar syrup's ready for you. As much as we want it to be precise, you do have to accept that you're not always going to get perfect. May or may not be able to see that, can't quite tilt it enough, but it's just a little bit below top. So we've got our strength, we've got our sweet, and now we need our sour. So just going to chop our limes, go from top to bottom, so cutting kind of like that way, because then you get the wedges rather than getting, sometimes people want discs, I'd rather go wedges, makes it easier to get the juice out. Cut it into 6, so each half you want to cut into 3 wedges. Proving very difficult there, not going to lie. And we will get on to versions of the daiquiri, but always best to start with the most simple version of the drink. breaking my own rules. I would usually go 3. That's a butter knife, very hard to cut with. So do get yourself a better knife than what I've got. You can just squeeze into the drink. I'm going to squeeze into the measure, just to see how much comes out. With the limes differ depending on how ripe they are, obviously depending on how big they are, you get more juice out of some than others. In other drinks, I would say put the lime into the actual Boston shaker, but that's when you want that kind of extra sour to it. Really here we should have enough without adding limes to the shake. Obviously the shake would get absolutely everything out of them, but we'll be fine without. So that is the last of it there. So, just going to pour your lime in, so that's pretty much a full shot. And that is literally all the ingredients in the daiquiri. So, really easy drink to make. As long as you balance it right, it's going to be really enjoyable to drink as well. I don't put my ice in my drink before I'm about to make it, which is why I'm going to quickly nip and get some ice, because otherwise you're going to get the ice melting and then you're going to dilute your drink more than you actually need to, more than you actually want to. So, one sec. So back with some ice, and none of this is melted, so that's why you want to keep it in the freezer for as long as possible until you're about to make the drink. Otherwise, essentially, you're just watering down your drink. So ice goes straight in. And then I usually make my drinks in the smaller of the shakers, because essentially if you're making the larger one and it goes above a certain point, sometimes you might actually overspill your glass when you pour it out. So usually if you don't go above this point, it's going to be fine in the glass as well, so that works out pretty well. I would slap on top of that, but it might do some damage to the bar, so take it, flip it over, give it a solid whack on the back there, and then shaking. What you want to do is take 2 fingers on one side, you've got kind of like a cut line there where 2 shakers are going together. 2 fingers one side, 2 fingers the other side. Mirror that on the other side, and then your thumbs are basically there at that part where the shaker goes into the other shaker, and you just want to put them there for support. And they're just going to make sure that it doesn't fly out, essentially. When you're shaking, ideally you want to be aiming in your head, think of trying to throw the ice from one side to the other. So when you do it, you should hear quite a consistent sound, sort of like a train track, going back and forth. So and you know that's done when you start feeling the cold on your hands. So the reasons why we shake, one is to get the drink cold, one is to get the water in there, so to dilute it a little bit, and obviously to mix the ingredients together as well. Think of the drink now, the 2 shakers now. If you've got the part where the small tin's going into the bottom tin, then essentially you want to clock face, you want to tap at about 7, 8 p.m. When you're tapping, don't slap it, because sometimes that can be quite painful. You want to kind of push with your elbow like that to get it firm. Sometimes it needs more. There you go, get it click sound, and that's how you know that you've done a good job. That will come off. Get your Hawthorne strainer. It's not too important, but essentially 2 fingers either side of there. Use your index finger to hold it down, so you're pressing down on your index finger. Your thumb is pressing in there, and the other fingers are supporting the back. You should be able to move around quite easily without that moving now. So then pour it into your glass. Doesn't really matter how you pour, I like to pour up and then come down at the last minute just because it looks cool. Yeah, there you have it. So that's your daiquiri, your lime daiquiri. The drink in its most original form. No frozen, no fruit in it. This was the original drink. So what you should notice, if you've balanced it well, it's quite strong. So it's a bit of a warning there. It's quite a strong drink. A few of those and you're going to be off your trolley. And it's just a well balanced drink. It's got the perfect amount of that 3 S's: your strength, your sugar, your sweetener, and also your sour. So you want those 3 S's in there to the perfect balance, and that is the basis of any cocktail. So you might add lengtheners, you might add juice, you might have other spirits, you might have other aperitifs or liqueurs, but essentially every cocktail starts from the basis of those 3 S's, and that's exactly what the daiquiri is. So from this point, obviously a beautiful drink here, but we'll be developing on it. So obviously you can do the frozen ones. I'm going to add some flavour to it next, in the next video, and also show you how this daiquiri kind of can turn into a mojito in a few little steps, a few extra ingredients. As I said, it is the base of drinks, and you can get to other drinks very easily from this point. So